hello. Hello, 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 hello. Yes, here we are. So, let's turn on another.
Si es un poquito está bien. Pienso que si lo metemos para el frente no da para luchar.
So, welcome to the Digital Innovation Pavilion. Hi, hello, hello. Dear Action for Climate Empowerment community, friends, my name is Miro Bolzer and I'm with IAI Lodger. It's an organization accredited to the UNFCCC and also to the ECOSOC, to the United Nations. And we are working on getting all of society engaged in climate action, in action for the local and global common good. And in the UNFCCC process, Action for Climate Empowerment is the governance space where this kind of activities fit in. And we've been involved with the UNFCCC process and the Climate Change Secretariat in the project Action for Climate Empowerment Innovation ACE-18 project, supported with by the Austrian government. And my organization was also involved in setting up the education, communication, and outreach stakeholder community in the UNFCCC process, because we are now thinking that it could be education, culture, and digital and outreach community, because culture is becoming more and more topic that the climate governance leaders are recognizing as important for getting the hearts and the minds of the people in support of climate action. Yeah, and therefore we are delighted that we have Isatis here with us with the Climate Civics Initiative, or how is it called now? Yeah.
Climate Civics International.
International, yeah, okay. Yeah, and also happy to have the support of Joe Robertson, who was spearheading these activities for years now. We've met actually 10 years ago in Lima for the first time, and we are on this journey together. And Isatis, please come to the stage to lead the way in the future of Action for Climate Empowerment.
Thank you, Miro. Thank you. Thank everyone for coming. My name is Isatis Intron. I am with Climate Civics International. And today we're here to launch our People's Pavilion. So we have the Digital Innovations Pavilion, which is here in person, but we have virtually as a digital innovation to the UNFCCC, we have the People's Pavilion. And we had a message from Joe that we couldn't quite play, so I'm gonna read some of it just so that you get like what he was trying to say. So there are a lot of reasons to worry about our climate future, including recent political developments. More important than that, we believe there are real-world impacts affecting people in all regions and circumstances. Our new name, Climate Civics International, marks a commitment to build a future of rooted and relevant and value-building climate policy by engaging people of all perspectives in diverse circumstances around the world. No one wants climate chaos. With always-on inclusive civic processes, we can achieve climate resilient development. So we want to thank the Volo Foundation that has been crucial in developing this space to expand how people can engage with the negotiations. Through their platform, we provide access to side events, trying to maneuver like what is like the landscape here in talks. This is our 4th year. And we provide, like briefings, and just trying to bring the COP to the people where it should be. So basically today we're going to have a discussion about the future of ACE. And for those of you who might not know what ACE is, Action for Climate Empowerment, ACE is an article of the Paris Agreement that talks about the core of climate action and how to make sure that we have an informed and active society. And that has 6 pillars. And the 6 pillars are education, training, public awareness, access to information, public participation, and international cooperation. These 6 pillars together, it's kind of like the Power Rangers, huh? It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They create a coherent action to make sure that when we are talking about climate action, these are effectively working together so that we have a whole of society approach. So for this session, we're going to have this panel that is going to be moderated by Marian Bello, who serves as the Youth Advisory Board member to the European Union and is a Global Youth Mobility Ambassador for the upcoming World Youth Assembly. It's recognized by the UN high-level COP29 champion as leading impact maker. So thank you so much for being here. So welcome.
So I'm ready. This long. I'm Arabello, and thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Thank you all so much for joining us on today for the Action for Climate Empowerment. So as climate challenges intensify and the role of Action for Climate Empowerment, which I'm calling ACE from now on, enforcing an innovative and inclusive solution has never been more critical. So from integrating local indigenous knowledge, fostering cultural diversity, to creating innovative partnerships that innovate community voices. And panelists are amazing panelists. I'm going to introduce them shortly. I'm going to take us on this bold discussion. So thank you all so much for joining us. And well, ladies first, as they say, so I'll be introducing Isatis. You already met her, but she is also known as Dr. Isatis Cintron Rodriguez. And she is a Puerto Rican climate scientist and activist, bridging the gap between policy, science, and community engagement. And she is a climate justice postdoctoral research scientist at Columbia University's Climate School. Please put your hands together for her. Thank you. And then for our next speaker, we have Mr. Samuel Robin. Oh, lovely. So Mr. Samuel Robin is born and raised in Barcelona and is a social impact practitioner, climate storyteller, and grassroots activist. I'm so excited he's beside me. Yeah, so he also has a degree in filmmaking and television from UCLA. So yeah, and so Samuel's journey in film producing began with his award-winning documentary Call It Suspect in 2017, delving into border security issues, and he co-founded YEA. Yeah. So YEA Impacts, where he oversaw impact campaigns like Can You Hear Us? That's such a wonderful title. Thank you so much for joining us, Cinti. It is my honor to be moderating this session. So we're going to start with our first question. And this first question is directed to Dr. Isatis. So, Dr. Isatis, you ready?
I'm ready.
Lovely. So, how can we transform ACE from a specialized agenda item into cross-cutting action framework that shapes every UNFCCC workstream? And what challenges do you foresee in embedding ACE as a core component of global climate policy? Experience as your professional.
All right. Well, thanks for the question. And yeah, so we have this article of the UNFCCC and the Paris Agreement that is severely underutilized. And we have definitely that it works for elevating the topics of youth and education, but some of the other elements are kind of ignored or not really giving the prioritization that it has. And I think like right now what we're needing is to make sure that we're putting communities at the center of all climate action. So when we're talking about adaptation, that we're talking about community-led, locally led adaptation, that when we're talking about just transition, we don't leave like anyone behind. And lastly, all of the negotiations, as you might know, they come to a stall when we talk about finance. And ACE is definitely not an exception to that rule. So in a COP like this that we're talking about finance, that's the big thing, we need to make sure, right, like we're talking about setting a new quantum. But the new quantum about climate finance is not only about how much, is definitely, it needs to take into consideration the climate debt that the global north has to the global south, but additionally is the quality, right? Like, and in that quality is making sure that the finance do not create further debt, but also that it is localized and that it is effective. And the only way to do this is to make sure that the people that are going to be affected, the people that are leading the solutions, which are our communities, our indigenous people, our youth, like they are at the table deciding, like how are we going to be using this funding? So when we're talking about the quality of like the NCTG, we need to also be talking about how do we embed action for climate empowerment in that, how do we embed like participation, access to information. People have the right to know what harms them. So I think like giving and taking a holistic approach to it is very important. And lastly, some of the barriers are exactly that. Like in the past, it hasn't been taken like holistically. It is very technical, right? Like people talk about like access to information, public participation, but these seems like separate. But at the heart of it, right? Like we are having like a anthropogenic climate change. So at the end, it is about people. So, and the only way to deal with a people issue is to make sure that we're setting up like the structures that create change. And I think like that would be our biggest challenge into how do we move countries into not seeing participation or engagement as a burden, but an opportunity. So, thank you.
That's wonderful. Please don't let me see that. Thank you so much also for your So, Mr. Samuel, when I saw the entity in Ohio, one of the things I came to my mind was there's no way we're going to get to these goals without public engagements, and engaging people at the grassroots scale. So now your question is, how do you think cultural and entertainment spaces can be leveraged to engage and educate wider audiences about climate action? And what strategies have you found most successful?
Thank you so much for that question and for having me. Hope everyone is having a good day of COP29 so far. And thank you to the folks of the Digital Innovation Pavilion for hosting us and for inviting me. I think this question is interesting, but to preface it with the notion that in the entertainment industry and in cultural sector in general, to be educational is not cool. Like no one wants to hear the preachy, propagandistic, oh, let me teach you about this. That turns down audiences in a myriad of ways. And I think that's also why sometimes there is a disconnect between initiatives like ACE that have education at the heart of it and cultural initiatives like ECA or other UNCCC projects. And I think rather than deviate from the fact that in entertainment and in culture we find a lot of potential for learning, we have to reinvent a little bit the way we are educating audiences. And I'll give you the example of authentic representation. Like I believe that as a gay man, the rights that I have are particularly conditioned for the content that I grew up watching. Modern Family, Will Gray, Queer as Folk. I mean, there is a lot of TV that I grew up watching and educated me that, oh, gay people are normal people. They have good days, they have bad days, it's fine, you know. And we've opened the door to representation through entertainment in ways that we haven't done with climate at all. We have not seen in our favorite TV shows, in our favorite films, how the climate crisis is impacting us, or the people that is impacting the most, to your point of the holistic approach of climate action. No? So I think that to your point of the question of like how can entertainment and culture support educational efforts, which I think by fooling a little bit the audiences into not realizing that they're learning things that they need to know. And to your point of like, people have a right to know what harms them, I think entertainment can do that. Because in many ways, the fears and the insecurities of the things we aspire to do in life, they are a reflection of what we think is feasible based on the cultural intake we consume. Yes? I think we have to really reflect on why is climate change so absent from our entertainment landscape. And to your question about specific strategy, that's why last year at COP28 we hosted the Entertainment and Culture Pavilion, which was the first time that in the Blue Zone there was a space dedicated to the creative industry. And just as the digital innovation is creating spaces like today so that we can come together and talk about these issues, we need a lot more capacity for the creative industry to really be a part of the conversation and to take in with them all of the storytellers and the amazing people that can make sure that the stories that are missing in those roundtables are also mainstream, because they should be mainstream. And one last thing I will say is that a lot of people are coming into this COP29 being like, oh my God, Trump won, the US, but I think that's connected with the question of entertainment, because we don't need to look at Hollywood right now for the status quo of what entertainment and mainstream audiences have told us, but rather create new stories and give the mic to new voices who have already been writing amazing content, but we haven't seen it. And now it's time for us to listen and realize, oh wow, all these stories were there all the time.
Thank you so much, Samuel. So to add to your point, it just reminded me of COP27 when the Youth Demand Research was presented by UNESCO. And in terms of action, empowerment, it's more of the educational aspect, right? And we talk a lot about creating curriculums. This is the educational aspect of what we're talking about. We talked about creating curriculums that are actionable, that are engaging, that are understood by these people. So I get your points. Thank you so much for that wonderful response. And now this question is directed to you both. So how can we ensure that cultural initiatives not only inform but inspire a sense of agency and empowerment in communities? And how do each of you envision aids evolving to meet the needs of diverse communities worldwide, particularly as climate impacts intensify and solutions must be more?
And thank you so much for that. And I think yes, often we talk about education in a very formal way, but education is also meant to mean informal education, which includes museums, which includes cultural, and it also includes even communities and how they teach each other. So yes, there's a lot of focus on the formal education, because that's maybe what national governments have the capacity to influence or to do, but there are definitely many players out there, I can say, for example, we created a USA's coalition to build a national strategy, and that included several leaders from museums across the US that were creating together this strategy and about what means to have a lifelong education. So it's not only about schools, it's also how people are educating outside, like through our media, through our culture, which is so important, right? Like I think that that connection of people to entertainment, that connection to culture really grounds what's happening. In Puerto Rico, we created this citizen assembly, and while we don't use art as a way to, in that sense, like we don't use art as a way to educate, we do bring it as a way to connect. So we create these citizen assemblies that are a series, and then we finalize it always with a cultural song or cultural dance, which we call like bomba and plena. These are some rhythms from our, like we are Afro descendants, so our ancestors, these are like the rhythms that we're like left with. So really people like coming together, dancing, singing, really elevates the mood. It really elevates, like that aspect that is really heavy when we're talking about climate action and how it impacts and how it's creating losses, like irremediable losses of life, losses of culture, of social cohesion within the country. So, like, definitely that is something that is at the center. It really brings that connection, right? Like, so always bringing that in. And lastly, and in the topic of Puerto Rico, so we recently had a major, were talking, and this was the only thing that was on my head on like how people don't know that they're being educated. But so Puerto Rico, we are a colony of the US. And because of that, we have like a very similar political issue in which we are like embedded into the two-party system. And it has been that for very long. We have had some waves of some new parties coming in that are more green, more leftist, but they have never had a real chance. And of course, it's a myriad of things that have happened, like socially, like people getting like tired of how much the government is failing them. And as well as different actors really elevating that kind of opportunity. But I think that most of you might know Bad Bunny, like who Bad Bunny is. So he actually got a lot of people like singing and thinking very critically about the situation. And I think it's not about generating the thought, but normalizing it, right? Like people already knew what is affecting them, but it being like very popular and mainstream song really created a lot of movement of people that thought like actually it might be okay to vote differently, right? Like so I think there is a lot of space to create change in behavior by the way that artists and entertainment can use the platform for good. So I think like definitely just bringing it together with the Action for Climate Empowerment would be very important. Like how do we like, no, I think it's like across, so it's not only like education, we're also talking about how this can serve to disseminate information and make sure that people are engaged. So yeah, I think like definitely there's a way to connect this back to the way that we create a future that is for everyone. So thanks for the questions.
Well, I love that you brought Puerto Rico into our collective minds because it's such a beautiful example and territory. And I think you're right about Bad Bunny's example because the medium of using a music video, which is the example I think you're referring to, how at the end of his music video, he included a longer documentary, short documentary that many people weren't expecting to see when they were watching the music video. You're watching the music video. I think you are 100% right. And I think that, I believe that every six of the pillars of age is indispensable, necessary, and a requisite to tackle the climate crisis. But it does blow my mind a little bit how are we not realizing that culture is part of the glue that holds all those principles together. Because what brings together public awareness and education? It's sitting around the fire, hearing that music, dancing to, it is the holistic approach that you were talking about. That is also culture. And I do think we have to press age harder to realize that this is central to their survival. Because the real reason why age is so important is the same reason why so many people don't know what age is in the first place. We need to be better at how are we communicating and expressing what needs to be done for climate action. People are seeing COP29 in their media, in their newspaper. They don't believe us. They don't think we are here doing anything worth it with our time. They think this is a sham. They think we came here for the panels and for the events and for the things, and they don't actually believe anything good is going to come out of this. And age is crucial for the credibility of the Secretariat, for the credibility of the work we do. And if age doesn't work, we don't really stand much of a chance, because that disconnect between what's happening inside of the blue zone and what we need people to know outside isn't working. We're not listening to each other. And I do believe that even when you become a UNCCC nerd and you start looking at all the different initiatives that UN already had, you realize that age is disconnected from its own allies, from its own peers within the Secretariat that we are supposed to be collaborating with. The reason why I'm in the UNCCC COP29, why the UN gave me this task, is because I'm part of the convening team of ECA, which is the Entertainment and Culture for Climate Action framework. That initiative was built upon the framework of ACE. But when we go to ACE leadership and we tell them, hey, we need you to make culture central to your strategy. I'm not asking them to make it a 7th pillar or whatever, but just acknowledge culture. They're like, oh, too much work. We are already doing education and we're working with UNESCO to do education. We cannot go there. And I think that fear of connecting the work we do with the broader picture is also what's keeping it behind. And I need to challenge us to realize that disconnect isn't helping. So it's not that Bad Bunny is the solution, but we do need a little bit of a crossover so that we're not operating in silos.
Thank you so much. These are very wonderful insights. And the center of the discussion is kind of like engagement. So now we would like to engage with you. If anybody has questions for our panelists, love. Okay, sorry.
Thank you very much. My name is Mark Okubo. I'm the Director for Music for SDGs Project, a project to promote the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals in countries. Recently, we expanded our scope to include fashion shows, movie festival, gesture art, and also other cultures and traditions. Anything fun, anything entertaining would be used for the entertainment. So I'd like to share some of my perspectives. For example, I have been giving a lecture about the SDGs. Actually, I have a different hat as a professional. I work for the largest life insurance company in Japan, which happened to be the largest asset owner in the country. So I'm responsible for promoting sustainable investments and other sustainability strategy for the entire group, and have a government relations. And then for that reason, I'm invited as a lecturer to the universities for the past 6 years on SDGs, but in the musical form. I invite pianists, violinists, and singers. So my lecture actually is a musical entertainment. So my university lecture starts like Madam Shen Wish with this deepest pride and greatest pleasure that welcome you tonight. This is the beginning of my lecture. And then the other important messages are the live band vision, which is corresponding to the theme. For example, when I talk about disaster reduction, I'm telling the students how they can survive and recover from the earthquake and disaster. Background music was from the Spirited Away, the Ghibli Japanese anime. Students were crying not because of the quality of my lecture, because of the sound. And then followed by a singer singing Remember Me. Because my point is that we have to dedicate a love from one generation to another. And Remember Me is a song in a Disney movie, but a message from dying people to the people who stayed left. So this is actually going directly to the heart of the people. And then sometimes I sing Gegege no Kitaro is a Japanese anime. It's a story of the wide diversified ghosts actually helping the people and living together in harmony. It's an inclusion, nobody left behind. So this kind of entertainment has been minutely planned to be included. So this is kind of the things that I'm trying to do. So if you are interested, maybe we can have a collaboration. Why I chose Spirited Away Disney Gegege no Kitaro, abbreviation SDG. So it's a thank you. So we are very happy to work with you, and we are also working on a movie project. This is the topic that we have the presentation today. So visit IAAI YouTube to listen to our presentation. Thank you.
This is amazing. And I just want to say one thing in response to your perspective that you shared, which is that we are 8 billion people in the planet. We are 8 billion people with different perspectives, different ideas, different culture. We don't all speak the same language. We don't all have to speak the same language. And it's so important to reach audiences in a, not actual language like Japanese, Arabic or whatever, but the cultural language that they speak. And, I have friends from Bollywood that when I show them a movie from Hollywood, they're like, that doesn't resonate with me. And maybe vice versa. Maybe you see a movie from Bollywood and you're like, oh, that feels a little bit too, animated for me, and same with anime. There are audiences who are going to connect with manga or anime or any other forms of art that only that specific medium will be able to carry the message straight to their heart. And that's why we have to build coalitions that are not about competing with each other, but really celebrating each other. Even if you are not the audience for that type of content, yay, it exists. It'll reach the people it needs to reach. So thank you so much for sharing that.
We are working also on collaboration with humans and animation worldwide. So,
Thank you so much. Wow. Congratulations on your movie as well. Looking forward to seeing it. So would you like to take over from here?
No, I think let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming. We're going to be having at 6. We're going to be having a gathering here. Please feel free to share a song, a poem, any kind of art that really resonates and inspires you. That's going to be like our dynamic at 6. So thank you so much for coming, and I love that. I love this discussion. So yeah, happy to keep working together because that's what we need. We need everyone to this challenge of our time. So thank you. All right.
Could we take a picture?
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Do you mind taking a
I think everybody should do the noise again.
If you can make it, I'm sorry.